Starts changing when ideas come to life.
We continuously improve. We innovate.
space for creativity.
And we're not just, we're a collective here.
This is what we love doing. Because ideas change the world.
It's very hard for you to provide for your family. Freelancer has helped me to overcome all that.
My life dream is to go to Japan. Thanks to my freelancer.com incomes, I have been able to save enough money to make this dream a reality.
Thanks freelancer.com for this wonderful idea to pull out the creative snakes from the shell in front of the world.
Education. It starts for all of us with a blank piece of paper. And then it leads to knowledge, curiosity, and discovery. Worlds open. Minds expand. But the road gets more challenging. And no matter how brilliant we may be, at some point, we all get stuck. So Course Hero did something about it. We set out to get students unstuck. And we made it our mission to help more people graduate confident and prepared than ever before. Today, Course Hero can help students with virtually any course at any college, anywhere in the world. And we're leveling the playing field for all, from students with children to students with jobs to students who are just plain in over their head. But we still have a long way to go. Creating a world where every student graduates is an incredibly rewarding but incredibly massive challenge. It requires finding the world's best problem solvers. It's engineers building the world's largest educational content marketplace. It's AI specialists building personalized learning and teaching tools. And it's designers and marketers who share a passion for what we do. We're also a great place to work, and it goes beyond ping pong tables. Walk through our doors, and you can actually feel the collaboration and energy. We are Course Hero. We are a hyper-growth company that is changing the way students learn and making a meaningful impact all over the world. Help invent the future of student learning.
Hey there! Looking for a no-hassle side hustle? I'm here to introduce you to a text-based Q&A platform where you can earn by tutoring whenever and wherever you want. Welcome to Course Hero. Course Hero is an online learning platform of course-specific study resources. It's a platform for students around the globe to get 24/7 homework help. As a text-based tutor on Course Hero, you can help students learn by writing step-by-step solutions or answers to student questions within your specialized field on the platform. You can choose your subject expertise, from computer science to engineering, science to math, and everything in between. As a tutor, you can answer questions in your subject expertise and over 10 million students. It's up to you to decide whether you want to go for regular or more complex questions. No need to worry about compensation, as you'll be paid per question answered instead of per hour. Enjoy the flexibility and freedom to be a tutor on Course Hero whenever and wherever you like. So, you might be asking, how much can you expect? The base rate for questions is $3. But for more difficult questions, there are complexity bonuses. Top-tier tutors can earn around $1,500 per month. Ready to be a tutor? Here are the things you need to know to get started. You must be fluent in written English, and at least a college student with educational documents reflecting subjects chosen. Prepare the following documents and take a clear picture or screenshot. Let's get started. First, go to this link and click Apply Now. Apply only when you have the complete requirements ready. Ensure that you have a stable internet connection and to block time for the application, as you may not be able to continue it if you leave the site for some time. Don't use incognito mode, as it could lead to session timeout. Create your tutor account to start your application. You can select up to 15 subjects, but ensure that they are related to your expertise. Certain subjects will require a knowledge quiz in the next step. Fill out the form with your personal information. To prioritize your application and increase your chances of getting approved, put the referral code ACQ. Read Fountain's Terms of Service and Privacy Policy, then click to agree. Submit your requirements. Lastly, check your email regularly for updates on your application. It will take 1 to 3 business days for us to process your application. It may occasionally take longer when demand is high or during the holidays. For application-related concerns, please contact tutor-applications@coursehero.com. For partnerships or collaborations, please email ph-tutor super-ups@coursehero.com. You may add us on Facebook at facebook.com/supergabby and join our official Facebook group, Course Hero Tutors. Good luck with your application, future hero.
Hi, I'm Greg,
Hello, I'm Jean.
Hi, I'm Justin
and this is an example of
The day in my life as a software engineer
at Expedock.
Wake up.
I'm getting ready for a stand-up meeting now.
Morning stand up.
Alright, let's do some work today, guys. Go team. Yeah.
Work.
It's currently 9:30 a.m. I'm checking my calendar right now for my meetings, going through my emails, checking my Slack, also having some breakfast.
Figure out how the heck to do my task.
I'm done with all my morning meetings, so now I'm gonna go back to fixing my draft PR. Hopefully it'll be up soon.
Team building.
It's 12:30 in the afternoon, so I'm gonna head out for lunch.
Super mega ultra power coding. Have lunch and pet dog.
So I just finished lunch and I got my caffeine for the day.
Stir, stir, stir. Bugs. Back to work.
Oh my god, it works!
Great. Success.
So it's almost 5 and I'm getting ready for my second stand-up of the day. And after this meeting, I'll probably wrap up and be done for the day.
Play some TFTLMAO.
And intimidating at first. I was also afraid that since we were not able to see face-to-face, it would be more difficult to reach out to people. But it turns out that ONB uses Google Workspace so efficiently that everyone's really just a chat away and everyone's ready to respond, help each other out.
Working with my mentor and my teammates is not hard. If one is really having a hard time dealing with an issue, our mentor can arrange a quick meeting for better guidance.
I had a lot of questions during the internship and they were more than happy to answer them. They also promote a good work and life balance, so even in the circumstances, I look forward to the tasks that they have been given.
I tried to work independently and avoid asking questions, but being in an environment a very hospitable culture, I was able to warm up with them.
You can always just message someone or call them whenever you have something that needs to be answered or you want to learn something. It also helps that we have like our daily stand-ups, so we get to interact with each other and with the team.
The most challenging part of the internship program is to apply the things that we learned through the training at the actual project.
Siguro yung time na nagkamali ako sa task ko during the training, it made me realize to read the specs better, be careful, and problems better, and also double check kung tama ba yung naintindihan ko.
The learning curve was very steep. It was like this crash course learning Java, JSP, Spring, Hibernate, SQL, and all of these tools I've never heard of before. All of them, however, turned out to be very helpful and streamlined the entire process of developing software.
When my fellow software engineer interns and I did a whole project together back when we were still training for the Java practices, I get to collaborate with a team
this experience made the most impact on me. It just changed the way how I saw my role at ONB, which would have to be when we were on a video call with Sir Callan, who's the president of ONB. One of his children started running in the background and making noise, and Sir Callan had to excuse himself to talk to his child. And when that happened, it really humanized Sir Callan, and it made me realize that even though he holds such a high position, he is really just human like every one of us. We're here to learn from each other, and everyone's approachable and, just here to help you out.
To be trained by the company's own CEO, Sir Callan, and VP of Consulting Services, Sir Enzo. That training is not just 2 or 3 days only. It actually took us a total of 3 weeks.
I recently only learned more about String Boot automation and Java practices. So learning these things made it much easier for me when coding for Java. I also really like the way they test their code one thing at a time, and I noticed something I'll be for when I finally work for the industry.
That work becomes less like work when you're enjoying what you do.
To be mindful how I code, I follow the proper practices and aware din na dapat my code is readable and understandable by other developers.
The agile practices that ONB follows, it sort of makes you realize how important communication is when working with your teammates and also your mentors. It makes you sort of more adaptable. Everyone knows what's happening, everyone can help each other out, and you can always find a way to improve your process and make the product better.
The best thing I've learned is the Java coding practices. I also realized that even after school, we are still not fully equipped and we still need further trainings to get ourselves ready for the industry.
It's very different from what we're taught in school. And through the demos and the projects that we were able to work on, I got to take a peek behind the scenes and to see that firsthand that all these code and these databases take a whole team to maintain, and it taught me the value of working in a team and working collaboratively.
Well, my first year in Origin Class was really exciting. So there were so many things and concepts to learn that weren't taught at school, and suddenly we just had to learn these things and keep up with them. And that was really tiring. It was quite fun though and exciting, especially since in Orange and Bronze, everywhere you look, you see people who are passionate, or motivated, highly skilled, really smart. Just most of the time I just go, I want to be like these people as soon as possible. And the rest is history. I'm currently one of their Java consultants, and in a team, I'm usually the tech lead. I've done a lot of different kinds of work for different kinds of clients, and this includes modernizing systems, upgrading systems, bridging old and new systems, and simply just developing code and new features for these clients while keeping their existing code clean, up to date, and we try bug-free. I get to learn how companies from different industries run, and from these clients I get their visions for the future and the reasons behind why they make us do this work for them. But the most fun about that is that I get to do this with a team most of the time. People with different views and understandings, trying to get them to think and act as one. That's a really huge challenge as a tech lead. It's very tiring and it takes a lot of effort. Just figuring out together the reasons why a thing is this way, is that way, and learning from it and getting better. I think that's the most fun. Orange and Bronze has quite a name. It's pretty well known. It's part of the reason why I applied in Orange and Bronze in the first place. Anyway, having a name, of course, that's a double edge because people just expect a lot from you. But it helps keep us at our best. But one of the greatest perks for me in Orange and Bronze, the one that I really enjoy, We have a lot of teams working on completely different things for completely different clients. And that means when I have a problem or when I just want to learn something, I just walk around and bother someone, and most of the time my problems will be more than solved. And maybe you got a friend along the way. The continuous highlight for me in my career is that Orange and Bronze continues to support its employees whenever they want to take the next step in learning and getting better in our jobs. Whether this is attending trainings, getting certifications, attending seminars, these things, they allow us to extend these learnings and benefits to the client. When we get better, the client notices that, and we leave better and better impressions on them about Orange and Bronze, or maybe even on software development in the Philippines. Aside from having been able to work with a lot of people from different industries, I'm also able to work closely with people from within different departments of our own company. You see, well, we may not be a very large company, but that's what makes us tight. We are more aware and thoughtful of each other's needs. I've made a lot of great progress in my career, and these wonderful, inspired people around me have in turn kept me inspired. But I think even that is only second to me making a lot of new friends here. It's a lot of fun.
We continue to challenge its limits and lead future innovations. We always strive to be the world's most valuable brand. Samsung Electronics is the world's most innovative company that attracts global attention. We continuously strive to provide the best consumer electronics, IT, mobile, and services. And Samsung Research, where Samsung Electronics' future technology begins. Samsung Research is the advanced R&D hub of Samsung Electronics, playing a pivotal role in securing state-of-art technologies and maximizing synergy of technological convergence. A new vision that will achieve in the future. Shape the future with innovation and intelligence. Started out at the Central Research Institute in 1980, we strive to become the world's best advanced R&D organization and consistently achieved excellent results on R&D, such as 5G, Tizen, HEVC, LED display technology, and so on. In 2017, Samsung Research made a fresh start, aiming to enhance synergy of future convergence technologies. Now, we will take on new challenges of creating technological innovations together with its talented researchers and transforming itself into a world-class R&D center. Samsung Research plays a key role in developing core technologies to prepare future business and discovering new growth engines of Samsung Electronics. At Samsung Research, we are developing next-generation artificial intelligence technologies to be applied to all Samsung products and services. To do this, we aim to secure cutting-edge AI core technologies and platforms, which is human-level AI with the ability to speak, recognize, and think to provide new AI-driven experience and value to our customers. To achieve this goal, we are focusing on 3 research areas. First, cutting-edge AI core algorithms for challenging AI problems through convergence of vision, language, and machine learning. Second, efficient
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a few minutes before we officially begin our event. Yes, we would like everyone to prepare for their materials and setups for this event. For any questions and concerns, please feel free to chat them, and our facilitators will gladly respond to you. Thank you.
All right, so good morning, everyone. Hope you guys are all good. I'm Paolo.
Hi, I'm Jerry.
And we'll be your host for today's competition.
All right, so before we get into the competition itself, let's preface this a bit. The UP, it's held by UP ACM, and the UP Association for Computing Machinery is a university-wide organization here in UP Diliman. It is the first local student chapter of ACM, the world's largest and oldest education and scientific computing society.
That's right. And in line with our mission and vision for building communities to develop the future, we are proud to welcome you all to Algolympics 2022.
Yes. And let's give a shout out to everybody who made this possible. This event is in partnership with the Department of Computer Science, UP Diliman, and is co-presented by freelancer.com in cooperation with Expedock Software Incorporated, White Widget, and Avaloq.
This competition is also brought to you by Navitaire Philippines Incorporated and Course Hero, with special thanks to Tech Factors Incorporated and sponsored by Orange and Bronze Software Labs Incorporated and Samsung Electronics Philippines Corporation. We also have Inquirer.net and Inquirer Pop as our media sponsors.
Yes, this year's Algolympics is the 9th iteration of this flagship event. It is also the second fully online edition due to the pandemic.
And I know it would have been nice to see all of your wonderful faces this morning, but as we should prioritize our health and safety during this pandemic, this is what we went with.
Yes,
So I
of
hope
course,
you guys-
health is wealth.
Yes, indeed.
But maybe we'll see you guys in real life in the next Olympics. Who knows? But for now, this is what we got to deal with. Anyway, we would like to congratulate everyone here, all of the teams present, for making it to the final round of Algolympics.
Yeah, that's right, Jerry. And I think we should get to know everyone a little bit better. So why don't we do a quick roll call? Yeah.
Yes, let's start our roll call. When your team name is mentioned, you may feel free to chat, react, or turn on your mic to let us feel your presence.
All right. Are you guys ready? We're gonna read the list now. So I hope you guys are excited. Let's go. Okay. Starting off with from FU Institute of Technology, we have Astrobyte. Are you guys here?
Someone's spamming one.
Sa chat. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
let's
Kahit sa chat lang
go.
if you guys are still waking up your brains, it's all right. But we would encourage you to open your cameras and maybe open your mics if you want to, if your name is called. Okay.
Nice. Let's go,
Okay.
Astrobyte. Next up, from the Polytechnic University of the Philippines, we have BIN or BIN.
Ben, are you guys here? Okay. I'll assume they're here. Maybe they're just warming up, mentally preparing themselves. So, all right. Next up, also from Polytechnic University of the Philippines, we have Celeste. Are you guys here?
Good morning. Yes.
Morning. There. Okay.
Morning to Celeste. Next up, from the University of the Philippines, Diliman, we have Chamba Boys.
Jamba Boys, are you guys here? Andito
Andito
po.
po.
Ayun. Okay, sige.
Let's go.
Okay, this is my favorite one. From Ateneo de Manila University, we have Fight Club ni Paolo Dano. Are you guys here?
Maybe
we're here. Okay. I mean, we don't talk about the Fight Club, right? That's like the number one rule of Fight Club. So, okay.
All right. Next up, from Pamantasan ng Lungsod ng Maynila, we have Haridev.
Haridev, are you guys here? Hello.
Hello.
Nice. Okay. Everyone's awake now. They're starting to get their brains moving. Okay. Next up, we have from the University of the Philippines, Diliman, we have Java Nice Day. Are you guys here? Are you javing a nice day?
Are you jabbing a nice day?
Sorry. My brain is waking up. So we're all in this together, guys. Come on. Java
All right,
nice day
there's
indeed.
that.
Okay.
Bye. All right.
Morning.
From Ateneo de Manila University, we have
Smooth.
Very simple and
Okay. Are you guys here? Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Next up, another one of my favorites from the list of names here. We have from De La Salle University, Manila, we have Kachaos. Yon. Kachaos. Are you guys here? I see a hi.
Cars reference.
Yeah. Kachaos.
Yeah.
It's daming
Hi,
A's
guys.
and O's. Kachaos. Very cool. Okay. Nice.
Right. Also from De La Salle University, Manila, we have Kuhaku.
Kuhaku. You guys here? Hello. I see.
Hey.
Hello. Good morning. Okay. Next up, from MSU Iligan Institute of Technology, we have Cutie Pie. So, yung mga Cutie Pie dyan, baka mag-on cam na kayo. Joke lang. If you want. Yeah, I see. Hello. Okay. Hello, world. Okay. Nice.
Next up, from the University of the Philippines, Diliman, we have Mami Kawada Lover.
Mami Kawada Lover, are you guys here? I think I
Hello.
see some movement in the chat. Hello. Good morning. Good morning. All right. Next up, we have from Cavite State University, Don Severino de las Alas campus. We have Mosite. Mosite, are you guys here? Hello. Good morning po. There. Hello.
All right. Next up, from Adamson University, we have Notepad minus minus.
Another one of the clever ones.
So yes, the clever name. I'm a fan.
His clever name. Edited. Okay. Okay. Next up, from Technological University of the Philippines, Manila, we have Puto Pao. Puto Pao, are you guys here? Puto Pao.
Serving putos to our codes.
Puto, anyone? Ay! Pag face-to-face tayo.
I imagine they brought like a basket of food.
A basket among themselves lang. But maybe next time we can try. Anyway, okay.
Next, from the Angeles University Foundation, we have Salamat Shopee.
Salamat Shopee. You guys here? Okay. Maybe also.
Maybe they're getting their order.
Yeah, they're getting the order. Medyo na-delay lang. Slight delay. Okay lang. Okay, next from Polytechnic University of the Philippines, we have Solomon Garage. Are you guys here? Good morning.
Good morning.
Shopee PPP.
Not sponsored.
Not sponsored. Hashtag not sponsored. Okay.
All right. Next up, from Ateneo de Manila University, we have Squirrels in My Pants.
Elite taste right there. I think that's elite taste.
Watch it down.
Squirrels.
Chipmunk, because I couldn't find a squirrel probably in our pants.
Nice. Squirrels in my pants. Nice. Okay. Nice to see you guys here. Welcome to Algolympics 2022. Next up, from CIIT Philippines, we have syntax error, which hopefully won't happen to anyone later. So, syntax error, you guys here? Happy birthday. Hello, good morning. Ay, salamat. Happy birthday. Okay.
All right. Last but not least, we have from the FEU Institute of Technology, the 3 marks.
The 3 marks.
Mark
How many marks? How many? I don't know.
Maybe like...
Hello. Ayun, Mark. Okay. Wow. Nice.
Oh my God, that's adorable.
Mark. Nice.
The 3 marks.
Nice to see you guys here. All right. Okay. I think I'm getting my energy levels up. You know, I'm pretty excited. How are you doing, Jerry?
I'm pretty good. I love the names so much. It's one of my favorite parts of Algolympics.
I know. It's always fun to read the names. Yeah.
All right. But before we get on with anything, let's shed a little more light on UP ACM and Algolympics. And for that, let's call Barbara David, the project manager for program and technicals for this event, for our opening remarks.
Hello, good morning. Good morning to all our participants, our judges, sponsors, and everyone else who may be watching right now. So welcome to the 9th iteration of Algolympics. Algorithm seems to be a buzzword that pops up every now and then. We hear a lot about it, how it greatly helps in medical and scientific research, as in machine learning and AI. On the other hand, we also hear about how algorithms dominate social media, sometimes to the detriment of our users. What is often forgotten is that algorithms are made by people, like us. We create the thought processes behind them, and we control what to factor into our solutions, and finally, we are responsible for what comes out. Here at UP ACM, we aim to emulate our parent organization in its goals to advance computing as a science and profession. It is because of this that we started Algolympics. We wanted to promote problem solving and computational thinking here in the Philippines, and I am so glad to see you all here today. Though we aren't doing anything extremely groundbreaking today, consider today as an exercise in creativity, writing these things that can potentially wield so much power. But if that sounds a little too heavy for you, or a little overwhelming, then at the very least, I hope that Our participants today will take this opportunity to challenge themselves, to gain knowledge and experience, and to have fun while doing so. Good luck and enjoy today's Algolympics.
All right. Thank you, Miss Barbara, for your opening remarks. Jerry, your thoughts?
Oh my god. I'm pretty inspired, no? I mean, said something about humans creating the
I know,
algorithm.
right? Like,
Dang, we are
so
so
powerful.
powerful.
That's a great point. And I think a lot of us have to remember that today, we create these algorithms, right? Absolutely.
Yes. And speaking of algorithms, I think it's time that we get to know our first speaker.
All right, so let me introduce this first speaker. So our first speaker was an ICPC participant from 2017 to 2019 and was a member of the Ateneo de Manila University Programming Varsity as an undergrad. He was also hailed as the champion of UP ACM's Algolympics in 2020. He now works as a software engineer at Freelancer. And for his talk, he'll be discussing three main concepts that he has learned as a competitive programmer that he still uses to this day. So this is going to be a great talk, guys. So without further ado, let us welcome Christopher William Dizon.
Hello everyone. Yes, it's nice to be back here, but this time I'm in the I'm the speaker now. So yeah, hi everyone again. Let me just pull up my slides. Let me know if it's seen. Hello. Kita ba? Hello,
yes, we can see your screen.
All right, nice.
Thank you.
All right. So again, hi everyone. I'm Christopher William S. Dizon, or Chris for short, software engineer from freelancer.com. So as mentioned, I'm somewhat a fresh graduate from Ateneo. I graduated twice actually, once from computer science in 2020 and digital game design in development in 2021. During my time in college, I was part of the Ateneo Programming Varsity, and I was one of the members of Team Bra back in Algolympics 2020. So in case someone remembers this was the post that went viral ish. And so yeah, this is us in back in 2020, the pre-pandemic. Yeah, good times. So it's good to be back in Algolympics. And this time I'm a speaker rather than a competitor. Although perhaps later I'll participate in the mirror if it's available or do a virtual contest. Today, I would like to share my experience and some insights going from a programming varsity member in a university to a working software engineer. While I was training with my team, we usually categorize people and problems into three main topics: math, data structures, and algorithms. It is pretty easy to think that the problems we solve don't seem to be that relevant in software engineering, but I would argue that both are grounded in these three topics. Right, so math. Everyone's experience of math is different. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's hard. We may take just a few minutes to get the concept, or maybe a few days or months or years. Regardless of difficulty and how long it takes to learn, at some point, or perhaps in this case at all points, we will do the same thing: experiment with the problem or concept. We can't really know the problem until we experiment with it. For example, I never really knew what combinatorics was trying to do when I first encountered it. This was, I think, back in grade 4 or 5. I only started understanding combinatorics when I had to count how lucky I needed to be to get an item drop in the video game. Once we dissect how it works, and is when we can start coming up with insights. Once I understood basic combinatorics, I knew if going for an item was even worth it. Similarly, during programming competitions, I would look at the problem and try to dissect it. Do I understand what it's trying to say? What possible scenarios or test data could I possibly have? Are there any edge cases I can think of? Once I looked at the problem long enough to see the ins and outs, then I could hopefully find different insights to simplify the problem to the solution, to simplify the solution to the problem even further. For example, many problems with monotonically increasing or decreasing data points, or simply put, if it looked like this or like this, whatever, could be operated with binary search in some way. The beauty of solving is that new problems could have solutions from old insights you wouldn't normally associate with. It's something simple, but it goes a long way, even in software development. Whenever I'm tasked to do something, whether it's a bug or a feature, I try to do the same steps I did when I tackle competitive programming problems. Being new to the company, I would often look at the context of the issue I'm looking at and how it works internally. Once I'm confident with my understanding of how it works, I continue with my ideas to resolve the issue. It could be simple, maybe I've seen a similar problem before, or maybe I could whip up a solution based on my experience from competitive programming. It could also be complicated. Maybe this is my first time seeing this problem. Regardless of what it is, people can come up with solutions that are completely new to you. And to me, there's the beauty of math. In short, knowing and using math equipped me with the tools I needed to begin understanding new topics that I would need to learn for work. And for this next one, the second one, data structures. Data structures was actually my gate to competitive programming. When I was in my algorithms and data structures class, one of the first topics was data structures. And this actually caught my interest. Although maybe because this was actually literally the first topic of the class. What caught my attention was the versatility of these different data structures. To me, these were like my machine components that you could fit into a bigger machine, and they would, quote unquote, just do what they were designed to do. When I got into competitive programming, I realized that much like, regular tools, like maybe office scissors or a hammer, you could use this in less than effective ways. Like, I don't know, you use a hammer to cut paper, maybe something like that. Back then, I remember making time limit exceeded solutions simply because I didn't fully understand the data structure I was using. I remember wondering why inserting it to arrays could be slow for certain problems when I was starting out. While I was training and studying for my classes, I learned more data structures and realized that they have their own strengths and weaknesses. An array may be great for accessing its elements, but if the problem has a lot of insertion in random places, an array might not be the best data structure to use. It's important to consider the data we'll be working with. Are we going to insert or delete often? Or is accessing the data more important? Maybe instead of an array, we could use a segment tree for certain problems. A good understanding of different data structures can equip us to solve problems much better. While we can look at this literally and carry this directly into development, the main concept of knowing when and where to use certain solutions is more important. While it's tempting to slap in some data structure, algorithm, or library, or whatever pre-made solution, just so we have a certain functionality, this could end up giving us a headache much later. Maybe this pre-made solution uses a lot of memory, or maybe it takes too long, or simply it's unnecessary. Regardless if we're doing a hackathon, competitive programming, or capture the flag, we have to be critical about the data we're working with and subsequently the solutions that we could implement for it. Doing so not only saves us a lot of time, it also saves us a headache. All right, and algorithms. Algorithms was my specialty before when I was still competing. And for this one, actually, it comes from my love for step-by-step instructions. So when I was in grade school, I remember having a hard time in Tales of Fantasia, a JRPG video game. At the time, I couldn't figure out how to beat certain bosses because I was underleveled and I didn't know the strategy behind them. Eventually, I consulted a walkthrough guide in game FAQs, and what I enjoyed the most is following the guide step by step and understanding why those steps were done by the author. In the same way, it is also how I read and understand algorithms. When I was in the team, like I mentioned, I specialized into algorithms, graphs and algorithms, because it was fun for me. Learning and implementing algorithms and graphs were really fun because I like seeing the idea behind the decisions for certain steps. Of course, in the process of learning, I will come across unfamiliar concepts. At first, it's hard navigating my way through these topics since they may be overwhelming. As I got used to it, though, I found that I made it easier for myself by breaking down the topic into smaller subtopics. This way, it's easier to learn. Over time, I realized that my way of tackling unfamiliar topics is similar to how algorithms are made. We begin with an idea and we break it down into parts and solve those parts. What I think is valuable from this experience is how we can navigate unfamiliar situations by systematically breaking it down and tackling the easier broken down situation. When I came into my first job, which is this one in freelancer.com, I had no idea what I was doing. Sure, I have bits and pieces of knowledge here and there, but as a whole, I didn't really know how everything fit together. And that's okay. We'll always run into unfamiliar situations, and it's up to us how we navigate through those times. At work, this could be evaluating how long it will take to implement an entirely new feature or how much time it would take to modernize an old section of code. It's important to have a systematic way of thinking because it will be easier to catch steps that may be too complicated or seemingly too simple. All right, we're approaching the end of my talk, and I'd like to end on this note. These three main topics that we covered culminate into the systematic thinking that I continue to use at work. Math gives us the insight and creativity to see behaviors of problems. Data structures gives us the tools to get over the obstacles of problems. And we put everything we know in algorithms to get a reusable solution. All three are components of the core skill we practice in competitive programming and software development, problem solving. All right. And that's pretty much it. This concludes my talk, and I hope everyone enjoys the competition. Have fun, everyone.
All right. I really like that talk. Thank you so much for your very insightful talk. It's amazing. I didn't realize that our speaker was from Bra. So iconic.
Iconic indeed.
Like
everyone remembers it.
I still remember people flooding to the comment section of that specific post, and it's just bruh.
Yeah.
I also realized that I really don't think that I currently have the skills equipped to handle competitive programming. Like combinatorics pa lang parang ooh. Hindi ko na kaya.
No, but I found it really nice how there's always a way to apply what we're learning, diba, in class. Ew. It's nice when you see the ways that it's applied because sometimes it can just be difficult and you're like, oh, ang hassle naman nito. But after a while, you're kind of like, oh, nga, no. Like this can be useful once you see how it's applied, diba? So thank you so much for your wonderful talk, Mr. Christopher William Dizon. Thank you.
As we wait on the next speaker, why don't we can open the floor a little bit for a mini Q&A for any questions?
Yeah, I think we can. If anyone's in the comments wants to ask any questions. And also, if you guys want to ask questions for our Q&A session later, don't forget to send your questions through the Menti link in the chat. Let me bump that. Hold on, let me look for it. There we go. paste this down.
Oh yeah, I
Okay.
see the bros
Yeah.
in chat.
The bros in the chat. Awesome. But honestly, I looked up to most of you guys because like competitive programming is indeed such a skill, and I think it's very cool. I never really got into it, but looking at all of you guys here and being part of so many Algo Olympics in the past kind of makes me like, damn. Sometimes I wish I was a competitive programmer. Diba?
Yeah, and having an insight into the thought process of what actually goes into competitive programming. Something else. Like I don't know why, but like I am a computer science student and this is kind of basic, but like I don't know why it came as such a shock to me. It's like, yeah, use different data structures when you solve problems. Like it depends on the strengths and weaknesses. It's like, oh, that's using what you learn, bro.
Definitely. Don't just use lists for everything, which I did for a lot of my first and second year. Just like, if it can fit in the list, why not? Pero that's wrong.
In our defense.
If I was a competitive programmer, I would know that. So
yeah.
So definitely look up to a lot of you guys. So good job.
And also
you
in
should
our
be proud
defense,
to be here already, guys.
If the judge accepts it, we pass.
Yeah, if there's a green check mark, you can just like joke lang. That's not what we learned in our last talk. We have to use everything. Use your math, your data structures, and your algorithms, right? So
we have a couple of questions already.
Oh yeah.
All right, let's start with this one. Do you have any stories from work that made you go, bruh, this was just like in programming contests?
Well, that's a good question.
Actually, there's a lot, but one of the first major things I tackled at work was, without disclosing too much, it's something that not a lot of people handle. So when I first got it, I was so confused. Like, what am I looking at? I didn't know what was going on, where the bug was, and after maybe, I think it was 3 weeks of just studying that part of the code, I realized that all I had to do was this one line fix, and that was quite a bra moment. So 3 weeks of reading, learning, reading through all of that code, only to find out that the fix was like set it to true or something. That was one of the first and biggest bra moments I had at work. And I think a lot of people can relate when they do a problem in competitive programming or maybe in their normal dev work, and they realize that the solution was just, they forgot to set something to true, or they forgot to feed in a parameter, or maybe they forgot to set everything to 0 first, stuff like that. So even that still still happens even at work, and I think even down the line it'll keep happening, and it's fine, it's normal. we live a life full of bra moments, and those are stuff to look back on.
I love that
Wise
quote.
man once
We live a
said, life is just a series of bra moments.
Bra moments. But totally can relate to that. I think can we do one more question? I think there's a good question here in our Menti link. I think some of the people want to know, what is the bra origin story? So before we get to the next speaker, so maybe you want to share a bit about that.
All right. So for the bra story was because back in the qualification round, there were 4 teams of from Ateneo, and we wanted to do the Powerpuff Girls. So there was Team Blossom, Team Buttercup, Team Bubbles, but we know there was a 4th one, and we couldn't remember who was the 4th one. So we named ourselves Team Bra.
I remember the Powerpuff Girl
remember
teams
the
also.
Powerpuff
I remember them. It's like, oh, looking back, that was my first Algolympics experience, and I just remember being like, wow, this is so fun. Such a fun
Yeah.
format and everything. And I was like, oh, that's so fun. The team names pa. So
Yeah.
awesome. I had, what is the name of the fourth Powerpuff Girl? The one from that like one episode, right? Shoot. I forget.
Yeah.
Money?
Bra moment talaga.
Bra moment.
I still can't
I
remember. I
understand.
think it's just
I understand.
bro moment.
Bubbles that didn't make it to the finals. Oh no.
All right. Well, thank
Okay.
you for answering our mini Q&A. We don't worry, we've got many questions to come in in the later segment. For now, let's introduce our next speaker for our second talk. Our second speaker holds a master's and a bachelor's degree in computer science from Stanford University. Currently, he's the Chief Technology Officer at Expedock and also its co-founder. Prior to founding Expedock, he worked in the machine learning group of Andrew Ng in Stanford University and also published research focused on solving problems in cancer diagnosis and global health problems using deep learning, computer vision, and Q-learning. Aside from that, he has also worked with some of the world's top tech companies like Facebook, Airbnb, and Stripe. Woo! Everyone, please welcome Rui Aguiar.
Thank you very much. That's a better introduction than I could have given myself. All right. How do I do this? Share screen and presentation mode, probably. Can you guys hear me, actually?
Yep, we hear you.
Okay,
Yep, we
perfect.
can hear you.
Perfect. Okay, let me show my screen. Okay. Hold on. It's making me reset. 1 second, guys.
Okay. So looks like we have some technical difficulties.
It
Let's
do be
just
like that.
It do be like that sometimes. It do be like that.
As the kids
so,
say, bro moment. Is that what the kids
as
say?
we just discussed, it was to be. That's all right. So maybe we can check in on our participants. How are you guys doing? Are you guys good? Did you enjoy that first talk? Are you guys excited for this second talk? I mean, looking at his resume, I'm excited to hear what he has to say and what advice he can give to our participants and maybe myself. Oh, there he is. He's back.
Ding dong.
Ding dong. Every time someone comes in, no?
All right, let's try this again. Thanks for bearing with me, everyone. Don't fully know what's going on with technology is always a pain. Having worked in it for so long. Okay. All right. So basically, I will. Basically, what my talk. So you guys can hear me again, right? Good. Thumbs up.
Yep.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay.
Awesome. All right. So basically, what I'm going to be talking about is. The prompt was relatively vague, but I did my best. I think that at Expedock, we're solving a lot of sort of really interesting technical problems at kind of all levels of the stack. Everything from like sort of very complicated distributed system type problems, dealing with like kind of many nodes in a network from, the reflection of the company itself to even in the day-to-day work to deep learning to front end. And basically like my goal for this talk is to really just like sort of give you an overview of kind of what our company is, what we're doing, why we think it's like a big, going to be a big success and like why it's important to the world. And then also like sort of give a quick overview of just like the types of interesting technical problems that we're solving because, everyone here is interested in solving these types of things. I think that at a company like this, you have kind of an opportunity to really solve like go above and beyond in terms of like solving things with like really hard kind of like algorithmic, artificial intelligence, other types of techniques. From there also have an outsized impact in the world, which is something that, I think is important. So basically, my name is Rui, and this is my talk about tech at Expedock. So let's get started. So basically, but before we get started, I just want to give a quick primer on what Expedock is. So basically, our vision is that we want to build the data infrastructure for the global supply chain. So I'm guessing that approximately 0 people in this call knows what that means. So let me just explain this for a second. So first of all, like in order to understand what the data infrastructure for the global supply chain means, you have to understand what the global supply chain is. So really what the supply chain is, and it's not really a chain, it's more of like a directed graph, but we say chain. So it's a worldwide network of businesses coordinating to move goods between point A and point B. And so 100% of everything that you ever owned has gone through like some form of supply chain. Even, you driving something home is a coordination of like movements between like businesses and consumers to move goods. But, from a broader level, about 90 to 95% of everything around you right now has been shipped, through a container. From some country or through like a trucking container to some business where you would consume it. So this is really like a huge sort of underlying infrastructure of kind of how the world works. And there's tons of problems to tackle in this space. And so basically, the real issue, as maybe you guys have seen now that there's getting more publicity here, is that the state of the world today is that the global supply chain is, inefficient, it's slow, it's opaque, it's getting much more expensive. There's like evergreen is showing up in the canal and then no one knows how to get it out. Container prices are going through the roof, like inflation is surging. There's huge inefficiencies. Take it from me, like having worked in the space, massive inefficiencies. And more importantly, specifically for our company, it's in major need of a technological overhaul. So, people in the supply chain are working literally on systems from like 1980 to 1990, and the cutting edge players are using systems from like 2000 plus. So it's insane, right? Like, you have these like companies in this space, these huge companies that are worth tens of billions of dollars, and they're just like Windows desktop software that like doesn't do anything. So huge need for technological overhaul, and basically like what we believe is that the supply chain has the potential to be something greater, than it is today, driven by technology. So we believe in a world where the global supply chain is like simple, it's transparent, and most importantly, like as you would at any sort of like company that is capturing data, it's data driven. In addition to that, we believe personally that now is the time to innovate in this space. The systems are so outdated, the technology is there, the problems are solvable, if not complex. And really, like we believe that we are sort of best poised to kind of bring a major technological overhaul to this, multi-trillion-dollar global industry. So, what this actually translates to in terms of what we're building, as I said, we kind of go all over the stack with this stuff because, data infrastructure products for supply chain is like, okay, Rui, huge market, huge type of problem space. Like, well, what does that actually mean, right? Like, you haven't told me anything. So really, like, what this means, drilling down in the day-to-day for us is, we build AI-driven products for data capture. So we use deep learning at a lot of sort of points of the stack, both like OCR kind of off-the-shelf stuff and then some in-house models. We do a lot of kind of like visualization, front-end type work of actually like visualizing data, predicting data. We're building out insighting tooling backed by sort of like recommendation engines that we're building. And basically, where we want to end. Well, actually, not eventually. This is kind of what we're doing now. We're on the large scale of sort of data processing of millions of shipments. So really, like, what I look at like this from a technical perspective, you have kind of like, as I said before, very interesting problems from sort of all over the stack. You have AI-driven products that are data capture. So this is really interesting because like you're working with like really complex forms of data. There's like mathematical, there's linear algebra, there's all this stuff that kind of goes into this if you're building the models in-house. Even if you're, using sort of these models as a black box, there's this great talk by like Andres Karpathy where he's like, look, you have to understand kind of a lot of this stuff anyway. And it's actually sort of very valuable and like a useful skill set for working here. In terms of visualizations, that's obviously like tons of front-endy, design-y type stuff. Insight tooling and state-of-the-art recommendation engines. Obviously, that's tons of like interesting sort of data science type problems. And then you also have the systems problems, like large-scale data processing of shipments. There's tons of distributed system coordination problems here. There's scaling problems. There's database architecture problems. There's indexing problems. So really, like, if you do join, I promise you there will be no shortage of interesting algorithmic problems to solve, for better or worse sometimes, but mostly for better. So, that said, given a high level overview, how do we really sort of think about technology at Expedock? And, it's almost like technology is sort of permeates kind of everything that we do. Because in itself, sort of the supply chain, or I guess like technology plus algorithms, because in itself, like the supply chain can be thought of and solved as like an algorithmic type problem, right? So as I said, as I alluded to before a little bit, the supply chain is a little bit less of a chain and it's more of like a directed kind of graph it could be cyclic, say directed cyclic graph. And really like the closest analogy that you would get is, to that in a computer science class that you may have taken is that of the internet, right? So, the internet obviously is a series, in networking 101 is a series of sort of like interconnected network nodes where it's like, you have data in your server in Germany or something, and, you stream that server to wherever in the world, Philippines, United States, France. And basically how that works is, you have a packet, and that packet like goes and is formatted through sort of a standard set of protocols and is, takes a bunch of hops through different countries and ends up in your computer, right? Supply chain is not that different. You have kind of a few key differences, right? So first off, with the internet, you're dealing with the world of bits, obviously much easier to move around. In the world of atoms, which is likely why innovation has been slower in the supply chain than it has been in the internet. But there's also a couple of other things there, right? So the one thing is that there's like a lack of standard protocols in supply chain. So when Tim Berners-Lee and all these guys at CERN were designing the internet, they did get a lot of stuff wrong. They got specifically like security wrong. I think now you see a lot of the stuff with Web3 and kind of improving privacy and security and stuff like that. But this was something that was a problem, but they also got a lot of stuff right, obviously, as we use the internet today. And one thing sort of is that there were very clear protocols at sort of every point of the stack. There was TCP, there was HTTP, there was like the OSI kind of networking model. There was Ethernet was well defined. And this sort of is one thing that we believed allowed for like quicker and more efficient adoption. And so basically, sort of like how we kind of think about what we're doing in a sense is sort of viewing the problem as like a very large kind of algorithmically solvable type problem, and then implementing basically using kind of cutting edge technology that just sort of has been around in the last 5 years or so, enforcing sort of the rules that made kind of the traditional sort of world of bits network successful into the world of atoms, right? So, making data standardized, increasing security, making data usable and processable, and all that. And so that's what we believe sort of is a fundamental hypothesis behind like, okay, this is how the global supply chain should be operating. Like there have been clear sort of demonstrated examples of this, and it's actually a solvable problem to be able to apply this to, millions of businesses across the world. So yeah, basically, as I was saying, because we can view the supply chain as a graph of interconnected nodes that have edges defined through data, algorithms can really play a role at sort of every single level of the company. So as a few examples, first one, image processing, right? Pretty simple algorithm, well solved in a lot of contexts. By image processing, I mean like text extraction, because generally when you're dealing with documents, you're dealing with the supply chain, you're dealing with documents, images, PDFs. So text extraction is like kind of one of our core product lines. So one question is like, given an image, how might we perform accurate and reliable OCR beyond what an off-the-shelf API can give us, right? So this is, oops, too far. So this is something that is actually really challenging because, sure, anyone can sort of make a API call to Google and say, okay, give me the OCR for this document and sort of naively use that. But basically, like a lot of the times that's not enough for users, right? Like you have to solve really interesting kind of algorithmic problems like, first off, spell checking, like what are the probability of these certain words existing, context, sort of like natural language, sort of context windows behind these words, like, okay, given the context of these other words, like, does this word make sense? There's actually a ton of linear algebra transformation here. You have to do really fast rotations of these images with the OCR kind of coordinate scaling. And there's basically like a ton of stuff here that you have to kind of put into it to actually make a reliable OCR engine. This is something that I think is kind of interesting because it's not something that you think would be sort of like a very difficult algorithmic problem or anything like that. You just say, okay, use an API and maybe like apply a basic spell checker. But this is actually really hard. Another thing that we do, AI, given an invoice, how might we extract metadata and line items in a template and variant format? So I actually wanted to, so this is always hit or miss. I wanted to actually know if people could give me any thoughts on this one. So imagine you have like a PDF or an image or something like that. And basically like, given this PDF, you know that you have a certain set of fields. However, you don't know where these fields are in the document. You know that they're probably in similar ones to other documents where, an invoice number might be in the top left corner, maybe in the top right corner, maybe like midway through the page, and have sort of like similar context of words around it. How would you sort of extract these in an accurate but template invariant form? So I don't actually know if I can see the chat, but does anyone have like any general ideas of how you might approach a problem like this? If not, that's okay too, but I can explain it. Regex. Oh, interesting. Okay, regex is a good thought for starting. However, the problem with regex is that the OCR isn't fully accurate, right? So basically, like if you have a regex, you can maybe extract like invoice number and say, okay, given an invoice number, well, there's actually two problems. Given an invoice number, the next word is probably the number itself. So maybe like, search for invoice number or invoice or whatever. And the next word would be number. And then you could have that as your invoice number. So that's actually a pretty good idea and a pretty good starting point. However, this doesn't quite cut it in the real world for a couple of reasons. Reason number one is that the number of templates in supply chain is really, really large. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be codifying like, millions of businesses. I mean, at the scale that we're at, it's probably more like tens of thousands of businesses, but still it's a lot of templates, right? So you can have like a giant list of 10,000 registers that's impossible to maintain, or you can try a different approach. Second problem with regex is the source of data is not always accurate, right? So you have this document and it's pretty clear to a human, like obviously, this is invoice number, right? And we know that the invoice number is right here. However, this would not be as clear to a computer, right? An OCR engine doesn't necessarily take into like a Markovian context of like, previous words that it's processed. It sees the pixels, right, on the page and it says, okay, maybe this is a pound sign or maybe this is like an @ sign, right? And if it does make the @ sign mistake, you have kind of a catastrophic failover of your regex where it's like, obviously like no one's going to codify like, invoice 22 or something, or invoice as an obvious invoice number choice. But that might be what the computer is comparing your regex list against to find the invoice number. So that's actually a good thought. And you can use regex processing in some places, but really it turns out that this is actually sort of like a multimodal deep learning process. So what this means basically is that you can take in the visual features, you can take in the text-based features, you can take in like graph-based and spatial and temporal location, feed a ton of that stuff into the model, and then basically like apply that by like feeding new documents through the model and also doing sort of continuous looping and training and stuff like that. But that basically allows you to like, one, cancel a lot of the noise from, potentially bad single sources of failure, like a bad OCR parse or like an unclear image or something like that. And two, take in all information that like a human would make to kind of extract a document. So there's a lot of research around this. I've obviously read, quite a few papers around it. And basically like, sort of the mental model that you want to use here is that you want to be able to have the artificial intelligence model take in all the information it doesn't have to be an AI model, but programming model take in all the information that a human would take in about a document to be as effective as possible, right? So when we look at a document, it would be something like, okay, we immediately look at it like visual, we read the words, we comprehend the words, natural language processing, and maybe we look at like the relative sort of temporal locality of these words in a graph relative to others, right? So we can immediately see like a graph structure in the table. That would also be useful to an artificial intelligence algorithm. And there's tons of interesting stuff that you can kind of feed into this. Obviously, working with data is a huge part of our company. So one thing that we're starting to investigate now is like finding bad billing items, finding discrepancies, stuff like that. This is a huge problem for tons of supply chain businesses where really you have sort of no, because you're using really old systems, you have no visibility onto like potential fraud issues, anything like that. But what you do have, if you're us, is you actually have the customer's transaction list because we're processing all their data. So from like both an ML and algorithmic perspective, given a list of transactions, how might you find bad billing items? And also, from a sort of a business model perspective, we have questions of like, how can we use technology to allow customers to find businesses in new ways, right? So this is like really sort of a classic data science question where it's like, okay, you're looking at these different features and you're saying, given given these customers, like this is where you're getting most of your margin from. This is like the type of shipment that you're good at, like ocean versus air. They might know that, but they might not know which customers. Here's who's defaulted as a vendor before. Like structuring and capturing and processing all this is interesting because you're doing it at scale with us, and is also very valuable to a lot of customers. So that's kind of a quick overview of where we're going with working with data. And as I alluded to before, distributed system problems. So global supply chain is something that is built on a lot of old technology. And as it turns out, we have to integrate with some of that. And so basically like integrating with client systems, integrating with third-party platforms, and integrating with Expedock is a huge distributed system coordination type problem. Where basically like you have to handle kind of a few things that are bad over a network, right? You have unbounded latency, you have unreliable networks. These client systems, I swear to God, are like running on some intern's laptop, like halfway across the world. So these things don't even respond half the time. How do you handle kind of retrying and making sure that you are able to get some kind of failover, and so on from there. Oops. And then consistent delivery is another big one. Just because the client system isn't working for us, that doesn't mean it's acceptable for a customer for us not to work through the client system. So retrying, polling, redundant systems, like infrastructure type problems are things that we kind of discuss and sort of work through every single day at the company. And then, UX plus design. I use the stock image because our stuff is proprietary, but basically we have a ton of visual problems around how can we present our data in such a way that it's easy to understand, use, and extrapolate from, right? So this is definitely like a very sort of front-endy, designy type problem where it's like you work with very sort of like, in fairness, the baseline is like the software systems from 2000, which do not have good UX. It's unbelievably bad UX actually, but if you are sort of a data company at the core, the presentation and ingestion of that data is super important for your customers. And so actually designing these things, building a really clean user experience, and then presenting that is kind of one of the core, can be one of the sort of core differentiators of your company and sort of an interesting technical problem to solve. Right. So in summary, we're on a mission to revolutionize the $3 trillion supply chain industry. Algorithms and technology can play a role at basically every single level of our product and organization. And if any of these problems sound interesting to you, we are hiring. Does anyone have any questions for me?
We'll have a brief open forum after your talk, sir.
Okay.
So no worries about that.
Sounds good. Oops, let's try to open that.
All right. All right. So thank you so much, Mr. Rui Aguiar, for your talk. I'm sure our participants learned a lot through this, I guess, mini crash course into supply chain and AI and data science. So thank you so much for sharing.
A little bit of ground to cover on that. Maybe I should have linked it.
It's great. It's real life applications of a lot of things that like education should gear you for, all of the stuff like that.
Definitely.
Anyway, I'm sure at this point, with both of our speakers laying their presentations on the table, I'm sure everyone has a lot of questions.
I'm sure we have a lot of questions actually in our Menti link now, so we can now proceed to our open forum. So, and if you haven't sent your questions in yet, Barb has just sent the link in the chat. So make sure to send your questions so we can ask them for you to our speakers. So yeah. Shall we begin, Jerry? Shall we get to these questions? So I think we can start off with one for Rui. So the question goes, what fields of knowledge other than computer science do you get concepts from? Okay, hold on. Do you get concepts from to do work in, okay, let me do that again.
Let's start over.
Reading comprehension is one field of knowledge? No.
Indeed. So what fields of knowledge other than computer science do you get concepts from to do work involving supply chains? There we go.
Yeah, it's a good question. So, obviously it feels like cheating to say this, but math is a huge one, right? Like graph theory, stuff like that. Computer science, obviously, if you're doing a tech company, and that is important. In addition to that, I think that economics is a huge field for this. This is like, one of the kind of fundamental economic drivers of the world, right? So this is, this plays a role with like inflation and all this stuff, container prices, understanding the economics of how these businesses work is really important to presenting better data with them. In addition to that, I would actually say that supply chain is kind of a unique field where like current events as a field of knowledge is really important, right? Like, anything from obviously like war to disease to whatever can cause sort of massive shocks to supply chain. And that can sort of change both like, how you want to tackle problems, the types of problems you want to tackle, the customers you want to serve and stuff like that. So this is really like, that is maybe like an unexpected, but perhaps not on reflection field that you would get knowledge from for sort of dealing with customers in supply chain. In addition to that, from like more of a technical bent, math is a big one. Computer science is a big one. And then I would say that another big one, funnily enough, is physics, because you're actually dealing with like physical goods all the time. And so the implications of like the physics of goods, like how fast things heat and cool and the transportation and sort of moving things around and the speed at which that happens affects sort of like your product decisions, what you build, the latency at which you have to process things, stuff like that. So a lot of sort of fields you can actually drive things in from. And especially I think the geopolitical ones are unique to supply chain.
All right. Thank you for that very detailed answer to the question.
Definitely.
Sure.
All right. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. You can
Okay.
take the next question, Jerry.
All right. So next up, this is a question for both speakers. What do you think is the most important skill a fresh graduate should possess?
So does anyone want to go first?
Like technical or non-technical? Oh, sorry. I took the last question. So just wanted to clarify.
I think either. They didn't
Is-
specify what kind of skill.
Yeah, just I guess the most important skill a fresh graduate should possess. Whether you think that's a soft skill, technical skill, I guess that's up to you.
And both of you can answer because it was addressed to both of you.
It was addressed to both of you. So maybe is Sir Chris here? Maybe he wants to go first.
Well, I can't really say for sure since I'm a fresh grad. But I think what my boss appreciated was the how we go about solving problems. For me, I think it's important to have that that critical thinking that we usually hone while we do competitive programming, because it will be able to see how, or like we'll be able to cover more ground when we solve certain problems, and it makes it easier to discuss if there's any weak points or things to consider. So for example, for me, when I made my when I make investigation reports on certain things, we're able to discover parts of the code where maybe it wasn't that well maintained, or maybe it needs updating, maybe it's not maybe it's outdated or too inefficient, maybe some query is too slow, stuff like that. Because analyzing the problem is one good thing to have, because it will help not only the it will basically help everyone in the end, since we have a better idea on how a certain problem works. So I guess to put it shortly, have a good like problem solving mentality, or in other words, critical thinking. I think that's one of the important things to have. Maybe
Yeah, I think that. Oh, Sorry. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's a
go.
great point, actually. Oh, sorry. Are you still sorry?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, didn't mean to cut you off there. When I'm hiring, really like what every person like when I also like I've profiled like executives and stuff like this hiring, like really like what people are looking for is someone who is smart and someone who gets things done, right? And so really like the skill set is going to kind of derive from that. So as Chris, kind of excellently put, I would say that basically like critical thinking and problem solving is extremely important, right? Because that, will show you, okay, can you get to the root of a problem? Can you like understand, not just like there is a problem, but like what is the actual cause of this problem? And can you break this down in sort of like a way such that you can fix it as efficiently as possible? And then the second thing that I'd look for is just sort of like general communication skills with like the rest of the team. So beyond, the technical skill set, which is obviously very important, critical thinking, problem solving skill set, from like a non-technical standpoint, if you're at like a relatively small company, I would say is like under 100 employees or so, it's really important that like you're able to understand how to communicate with everyone from like your fellow engineers who are highly technical to, your manager who might also be highly technical, to people in other departments who might not have the kind of background or might have sort of different incentives or, be a different kind of stakeholder in a different sense. And, the ability to both like understand and break down a problem and then communicate that problem in like an explainable way to a lot of people, I think has historically been what is, successful for us in hiring, and is what I kind of exclusively look for, or not exclusively, but what I like primarily look for when evaluating like a new candidate.
Awesome. Great points. I think, yeah. So critical thinking, a major one. I think all of us, for you guys being here, you guys already have those critical thinking skills to have made it to this final round of the competition. And also the ability to communicate what you found and to communicate your methods. That's an important thing to take note
Very
of.
key
So,
traits
guys,
to possess no matter where you go.
Definitely. So you got that, guys? Understood? Very good. All right. Let's get to another question. So I think we have a question here for Sir Dizon. So what are the advantages of joining programming competitions as a competitive programmer yourself in landing software-related jobs? So you want to mention anything about that?
I think
you touched on it a little bit earlier with the critical thinking side, but if there's anything else you'd like to share.
So generally speaking, when one thing that we practice and make like we improve in is problem solving and critical thinking. But other than that, I believe some companies still do something like what do you call it? It's something like a programming problem similar to what we have in competitive programming. So we have something like lead code interviews. We have a little bit of edge when it comes to that, simply because we're more familiar with that kind of format of problem. But other than that, it's really more of the problem solving, critical thinking that really gives us an advantage. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
As said earlier, life is just a series of bro moments, and you gotta solve them.
Yep, solve them all. That's right.
All right. This next question, I think, is directed to both speakers as well. All right. So, do you have any tips for graduating students looking for employment who are still not confident with their skills? I think this hits home for a lot of people.
Or maybe trying to gain confidence is the better term. So, maybe advice for them.
Yes.
So I guess I can start on this one.
Yeah,
you can start the last two talker one. Imposter syndrome is a huge problem. It's everywhere. It's at all levels of a company, at all ages. I'm not necessarily sure it ever goes away. Sorry, I don't mean to be super depressing, but don't worry, you're not alone. Tons of people feel this way. And I would say a few things, right? First of all, when dealing with something like this, like oftentimes I find it helpful to sort of break down why exactly. I generally, like, I'm a pretty logical person, so I find it helpful to sort of feel like, okay, why do I think that I'm not good enough in this certain field? Like, why do I think that my skill set isn't like as confident as others, and like what can I do to kind of improve from there? And what helps me, not necessarily going to help everyone, is sort of being very kind of objective oriented about it versus like sort of problem oriented about it. And then the second thing I would say is like, just remember you're not alone. Like, you're probably a lot smarter than you're giving yourself credit for, especially if you're, in the final round of this competition. I'm sure that there's tons of places that would like you. There's sort of huge demand for software engineers, talented software engineers everywhere. So try not to sweat it too much, and that'll also come off better in interviews. If you're a little bit more laid back about it, not overconfident or anything like that, but at least you are sort of, if you're able to kind of shake that off, generally the performance is better.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm sure that reassured a lot of our participants here. So don't worry, guys. You guys will be fine. You've made it this far, and I'm sure you guys will go a long way in your careers as well. So, Sir Chris, maybe you want to share as well?
Yeah, I think that's very well put. If you feel like maybe you're concerned about your current skill, yeah, pretty much don't sweat it. When I guess for me, it was kind of a shell shock when I started working. It was really different from what I experienced back in university, and it's really like a shock. Like, suddenly there's a lot of stuff that you don't know, a lot of new things, a lot of things you thought you knew, but you find out you didn't know it as well as you thought. And it's really just a part of learning. And one small thing that we do to help manage like feelings of imposter syndrome is just keep a note of things that you learned, things that you've done, new stuff that you've done and learned. Just keep a note and track all of those. And maybe in a month or two, or for me, after 6 months, I realized I filled up like 2 pages of new stuff I learned. And if I look back now, like when I look at that list, I wouldn't think I would have done that. So it's really, don't sweat it too much. Yeah, everyone's learning, and yeah, just keep learning, just relax and just do what you have to do. Yeah.
It's an iterative process, right? You just build it up.
Notebook thing's a great idea. I should start doing that.
That is a great idea. I should be doing that. Jerry?
We're all works in progress.
Definitely.
All right, let's looking towards the questions. This seems to be a bit of a quick question. Does Expedock offer internships?
We would probably offer internships for the coming up year. So if you're interested, then you should apply and we can talk.
Awesome. So you heard that, guys.
Whoever asked that.
Yep. I think there are a couple people wondering, so thank you. Okay, next up, this is another interesting question that for the both of you. Maybe you guys can share a story where you experienced a problem, any type of problem, and how you were able to solve it. Like whether that's from your daily life or at Expedock or freelancer, anything you want to share. I think we can start with Chris.
Wait, can you repeat the question?
Sure, no problem. So can you share a story where you experienced a problem, any sort of problem, and how you were able to solve it? Or this sounds like an interview question, so sorry if I put you on the spot.
Yeah, so I guess for me, one of the problems let's see. So one of the problems that I faced at work recently was there was I needed to add in new functionality to some part of the site, and it was my first time touching that part of the site. So what I've learned from my experience is, well, first things first, familiarize yourself with that part of the site. So for that one, it was more of an administrator page, and it was I needed to find out what exactly goes on in that process. So first, I just use it, and I found out several issues, and one of those issues was the thing I was supposed to fix. Once I figured out how it worked, the next step is really find out how does it work beneath, like, the front end. So that's the time I looked deeper and looked at how information is flowing. Like, when I do this action or when I submit this information, where does it go? How is it being handled? And once you find out that flow, it's much easier to find out where exactly the problem is. So whether you're fixing a bug or adding a new feature, it's much easier to find it out if you map out how information is flowing from one point to another. Yeah, and for that one, I think the solution was not really straightforward, but it required a bit of, like, unpacking as well. So after you find out that solution, you have to figure out, okay, does my solution, does it make sense in terms of maintainability? Does it make sense in terms of business logic, stuff like that? And I think what's most important is you make it clear what your solution is trying to do. Yeah, hopefully that answered the question. I think it's more of a process, the way I answered it rather than the concrete thing. Yeah.
But I think it's an advice for anyone trying to solve any type of problem. So thank you, Chris. Rui, you want to share?
Sure. So, all right. So, funny if you're not me, story. So the other day, we did a release, and it was like, we did this release at, like, I don't know, like 3 p.m. or whatever. And it's fine. It's going well. Release, no bugs, no issues, anything like that. And then, suddenly, like, I get a call from our head of product at like 9 p.m. Like, Rui, the website's crashing. We don't know why. Customers are complaining. Fix it. I'm like, okay, hold on. What's going on here? First of all, take a step back. Obviously we have some sort of pretty bad outage here. Let's try to solve this problem, right? So the problem basically is, like, unclear sort of crash version for website. This is downstream sort of affecting customers and the business. And so basically, like, the first thing that I do generally with these problems is, like, first, for software problems, I try to understand, like, if we have a good enough process for monitoring these types of issues. So from, like, a process level perspective, like, the first thing that I dove into was, like, okay, let's take a look at, like, we have a suite of monitoring tools set up. Let's take a look at a bunch of these, where this problem is occurring. Are we getting any error messages of a certain type? Are there any issues here? Like, why would this be occurring? What were the changes in this that would have potentially led to this? After sort of searching through those, I was able to find that this was actually, like, a database level error. And so basically, like, from there, it was like, okay, so obviously there's this column in this database that shouldn't exist, but is existing. Why did this happen, right? And so, then you sort of like take a step back and review your process of, like, okay, there's this column that's here, how did this get in here without getting checked? Well, basically what happened was that this was, like, included as, like, a follow-up to a PR of something that was basically, like, the PR was approved, and then there was a change added, and then, the PR was merged with this additional thing that shouldn't have have been in there in the first place that had caused a breakage, right? So, basically what you've got is you've got sort of, as Chris was saying, a process problem, right? And then the third problem was that like this had actually been released into production in the first place, right? So like this should have been checked, could have been QA'd, something like that. And so basically like the way that we went around solving it was like, obviously, first off, when we saw the problem, we immediately saw that there was this column that wasn't there. We just ran a migration that said, okay, drop column, in production, so, site stop crashing, no problem. Immediate fix is great. But especially, when you're dealing with the early stages of a startup and a lot of like kind of like fast moving teams, things break a lot. And what's really more important than actually getting the fix is getting the process around the fix. Similar to what Chris was saying, that, more important than finding the bug is actually getting the process of like, where does the information go to get the bug? That'll make you more effective overall, right? So in solving this problem, we not only actually fixed the thing, wrote the script, removed the column, whatever, took 5 minutes, but we also, modified our GitHub rules where it was like, okay, no more sort of require reviews after approval and like major changes and pushing, and also, increase monitoring around like database type issues from other tooling or investigate tooling around these database type issues, because this was like a sort of common problem that we had seen before. And after a few data points, we were like, okay, now it's time to maybe like invest more into like New Relic's database solutions. We're using their product already, and maybe that can help us find the bugs in the future. And then from there, we've been able to kind of catch a lot of these bugs before they were to get to production, fix the process, and also like make sure that like our code is of higher quality through like not only solving the problem itself, but also taking a step back and saying like, how can we be sort of more effective as an organization? So generally, like when I solve problems, like that is kind of the thought that I always have, where it's like, yes, fix the issue, but always like understand why it's happening, and then understand like from a process perspective, like, is this actually like a code failure? Is this just a one-off bug? Like everyone writes bugs, or is this really like a process or organizational failure? And how should we be fixing that if so?
Great, well said. I think that's it's important for all of us, especially as programmers, right, to understand the root causes of our errors. Thank you for sharing.
Great answers.
Jerry?
Both of your answers gave us a great insight into what do you think when going and solving a problem.
Yeah.
All right.
Definitely.
So up next, we've got another question for both. Maybe Sir Rui can start this one. Do you guys have any tips or okay? How do you guys cope with staying productive, organized, and not being burnt out with the tons of work that you constantly have to do? Any tips that you can give us?
Yeah, it's a good question. I work a lot. And basically, like, there's a few things that are helpful here. I personally find that exercise is generally really helpful. For me, at least, like going for a run or going for the gym for like just like half an hour or so, like number one, you're not going to miss anything with work. If you wait for half an hour, you'll probably be stuck on the same bug anyway. If you're, feeling burnt out and you're like, oh, I can't solve this. So like maybe just take a step back, go to the gym, do something like that. That's helpful. Another thing that's helpful, I think, is, talking through this situation with other people in the same place. That always makes me feel a little bit better, or people who have, either you think are burning out, or are in a similar situation, or people who have solved the problem, to kind of get insights from them. Generally, like it just makes me feel a little better talking through other founders in similar situations whenever something is going wrong. And that's generally like kind of a good emotional support lever. And then, the third thing I think is that it's always good to kind of, at least for me, connect the work I'm doing to have some sort of meaning or interest. So generally, like when I'm burnt out, it's not because I'm working too hard. It's because I don't care about the work that I'm doing. Where it's like, okay, I don't want to spend 16 hours like fixing this one bug. And so like, and I'm feeling, oh, I'm burnt out, this isn't like, I'm not, having a good time here. Generally, like what I like to do with burnout is, again, a process type problem, right? How I think, take a step back, say, okay, am I really burnt out because I'm working too hard here? Or am I really burnt out, for me personally, at least, because like, this is not high leverage work, or this isn't the kind of work that I'm interested in doing? And, if so, how can I kind of get around that? Is this a temporary situation? Is this a permanent situation? Like in my position, it's like, should we be hiring for this type of work anyway? If you're a software engineer, it's like, should I talk to my boss about like, okay, I actually like working on these types of problems more, or like this other thing. But that is sort of, I think, the three kind of major levers that I try to pull with sort of burnout or feeling tired.
Awesome. Chris, would you like to share?
Yeah. I think much like when we solve competitive programming problems, you have those moments where you pretty much bang your head against the problem, and then you give up, sleep, and the moment you wake up, you're like, I have an idea, and you'll immediately just solve it right then and there. And um, really, it just means you just have to take a break. So when things are rough, like you have no idea how to solve stuff, or like you've tried everything that you can, don't sweat it. Just take a break. More often than not, it will actually help you, simply because your brain's more relaxed. You maybe take yourself away from a certain perspective you're trying to look at the problem at. Just reset the brain, turn it on and off, and things will hopefully function again. And yeah, for me, as someone new to working, new to the company, I find that it's helpful to if you're stuck, just ask for help. There's nothing wrong with that, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people would be willing to help me out. And I really experienced that at work. Like, I don't know how this part of the code works, or not familiar how the concepts in this thing at work. Like, not sure how it. I don't understand it, or I don't understand certain processes, and yeah, like people would just help you out, answer your questions, or direct you to people who would know more. And yeah, I also agree, like, try to work on something that you like as much as possible, because yeah, like it's kind of hard to work on something you don't like. So as much as possible, try to find something you like and try working on it. Like, even if you're not too familiar with it, it's fine. If you like it, then might be good for you. Yeah.
Thank you guys for your amazing answers. And I'm sure our participants got a lot of insights from that. So I think we can get to one last question before we proceed to the next part of our program. So this question is for Rui. Let's see, here we go. So is having a decent computer science background with a fairly strong competitive programming background, but zero AI ML experience enough to get hired at Expedock? So I think it's what this person is trying to say is how important is AI ML for your hiring?
Yeah, we solve tons of different problems. So we have tons of, basically like strong computer science background and competitive programming background basically takes you to 90% of the way already for solving like tons of different problems we have that are not AI specific. So there's tons of, as I said in the talk, there's tons of full stack problems, tons of systems problems, tons of like just general data science, data processing problems, front end problems, back end problems, anything there. So if you have a general interest in one of the fields of computer science, like you'll probably find things that are interesting to work on. So the answer is it doesn't really affect it that much at all. You'd just be working on different things.
Awesome. So there you go, person who asked that question. You have your answer.
Somebody really wants to get into Expedock.
Someone really wants to get into Expedock here. All right. So I think we can proceed to the next part of our program. So with that, we end our open forum. And at this point, we would like to show our gratitude to our speakers by giving them each certificates of appreciation.
Yes, we very much appreciate it. So, the Association for Computing Machinery UP Diliman Student Chapter Inc. awards this certificate of appreciation to the speakers Christopher William Dizon and Rui Aguiar for being an esteemed speaker in Algolympics 2022 Worlds Unknown held on March 26, 2022. This is signed by Luis Gabriel Agana, our chairperson, Barbara David, the project manager for Program and Technicals, and J. Ryan Mapano, our project manager for Communication.
So now we encourage everyone to turn on their cameras so we can take a quick photo together with our speakers. So if you guys can turn on your cameras.
Thanks, guys. I'll make my certificate in NFT.
Nice. All right. I can't see everyone in the chat, or in the gallery.
I think I see a couple of people turning on their cameras.
Yeah, awesome. There we have people turning on their cameras. Good morning, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed our talks there. Some people waving. Hello. We're alive, guys. Let's go. Awesome. Look at that. Wow, so many people.
Oh my gosh, there's so many people. I love it.
Our finalists. Look at you guys. Okay. So I think we can take the picture now. Last chance for anyone who hasn't turned on their cameras yet, if you want to be included in our group picture. So I think we have 3 slides. So if ever, just hold your smiles for a couple seconds. Hopefully it doesn't hurt too much. So
You can take the picture.
Lodge.
Hello, I'll take the picture na lang.
Okay.
Okay. Just say when.
Is everyone ready? Okay.
I think so. Okay, guys, smile.
Smile. 3, 2, 1, smile. Oh, okay. So please hold on to your smiles because there are 3 pages here. So I'll be taking the photo for the second page. 3, 2, 1, smile. Okay, so now onto the last page. 3, 2, 1, smile. Okay, we're done now. Thank you.
Thanks, Dad. Thank you, everyone, for showing us your beautiful faces. Back to the void, someone said.
Oh my gosh,
All
sorry, I
right.
was muted.
Yeah,
bad.
I was wondering what.
My bad. All right, so after those rousing speeches, I think the participants here should be at least a little bit excited to start our contest, right? So how are you doing, Jerry?
Doing pretty good. But I won't lie, I think that all of us would benefit from a little bit of a break, no?
It's not the break. Short break muna. All right.
Give everyone a chance to drink their water, use
Go
the
to the
bathroom.
restroom because we have a
Because we're about to
long
get
day
into it,
ahead,
lads.
guys. We're about to get into the program, into the contest. So make sure to get your waters, get your snacks, go to the CR, and we'll be back in a bit.
Everybody will be back shortly in about 10 minutes.
10 minutes. So, all right. So see you guys in a bit.
And lightweight AI solution, making on-device intelligence pervasive. Third, next-generation virtual assistant platform, a highly personalized multi-device ecosystem to transform and empower our daily life. To provide more meaningful user values, Samsung Research aims to develop advanced data intelligence technologies, turning massive data into actionable insights. In this aspect, we are focusing on data augmentation, machine reasoning, and automatic data analytics technologies. Also, core technologies to set up AI development environment. Moreover, business intelligence and product or service innovation driven by data analysis. The mobile communications technology is evolving so fast nowadays and playing an increasingly central role in transforming our lives in various areas. In order to deliver more innovation to our customers and prepare for the future business of next-generation communications, we are developing advanced core technologies and standardization of mobile communications. There are 2 research topics to achieve this goal. First, 5G core technologies and standardization to lead continuous innovation in 5G. Second, innovative 6G technologies to shape the future of mobile communications. The concept of machines has been revolutionized to give rise to a new intelligent machine emerging market. To address this opportunity, Samsung Research has set its goal to secure cutting-edge software and hardware technologies for intelligent machines, delivering rich AI experiences to customers. Especially, we are focusing on 2 research areas. First, AI-enabled robotics software and hardware platform, meeting safety, real-time, and low-power requirements. Second, core software and hardware technologies for ultra-thin, lightweight, immersive augmented reality glass and future augmented reality services. Tizen is a Samsung's common software platform to support multiple devices, from smart devices to home appliances. Samsung Research works on expanding next intelligent products and IoT services powered by Tizen. To achieve this goal, we are focusing on 3 research topics. First, Tizen platform core technologies. Second, reliable and collaborative Tizen RT. Lastly, platform technologies enabling on-device AI and AI services. Consumer values are shifting towards holistic life care leveraging technology products to deliver hyper-personalized services. Accordingly, we are developing intelligent life care and wellness solutions to enhance quality of life, especially using non-restraint sensor data. Thus, we are concentrating on AI-based personalized care solutions for air quality, beauty, and food. In addition, intelligent healthcare solutions, including non-contact vital sign monitoring, health and elderly care, fitness, and so on. The media service area is experiencing an explosion of innovation. To address this opportunity, Samsung Research aims to secure next-generation media device and media processing technologies to open up new media experiences. There are 3 research areas to achieve this goal. First, next-generation media device. Second, advanced media and image quality technologies. And last but not least, ultra-low latency media processing and transmission technologies. The IT environment is constantly evolving, and the severity of security threats are increasing as well. To deal with these challenges, Samsung Research is playing a key role in delivering innovative security solutions to ensure top-level security of all Samsung products and services. Accordingly, we are focusing on proactive full-stack security, next-generation security, and intelligent integrated security platform. To achieve our vision, Samsung Research is collaborating with 14 R&D centers around the world. Also, we are establishing 7 global AI centers to maximize synergy, and all the talented members are dedicated to develop the world's best technologies. In addition, Samsung Research will accelerate achieving its goals of creating the value of cutting-edge innovations by standard technology. Furthermore, we are expanding a global network through various events, such as Collegiate Programming Cup, AI Forum, Security Tech Forum, Open Source Conference, and so on. Open innovation is the core value of Samsung Research. Samsung Research will continuously reach out hands to whoever has promising new technologies, leading active collaboration and maximizing synergy. At this moment, Samsung Research will make a leap forward to be a top global R&D center to create new values and contribute to make better human society. As Samsung Electronics leading continuous growth, Samsung Research will always be at the heart of it. Shape the future with innovation and intelligence. Samsung Research.
Life starts changing when ideas come to life.
We continuously improve. We innovate.
We create space for creativity. And we're not just colleagues, we're a collective here.
what we love doing. Because ideas can change the world.
It's very hard for you to provide for your family. Freelancer has helped me to overcome all that.
My life dream is to go to Japan. Thanks to my freelancer.com incomes, I have been able to save enough money to make this dream a reality.
Thanks freelancer.com for this wonderful idea to pull out the creative snakes from the shell in front of the world.
All right. Hello, everybody.
Welcome back. I hope you guys had a productive break. Hope you guys are able to get some, maybe a little bit of rest and prepare your brains for our competition today.
Yes. I hope you had your waters. Hope you peed your peas.
What? Okay.
Hope you're ready because we're about to get to the meat and potatoes of this event. We're going to be talking about the mechanics.
Indeed. But so we should definitely go into the rules and regulations and mechanics and all the technical things you have to know before starting the competition. So why don't you start us off, Jerry?
All right. So the length of the contest may be altered in the event of unforeseen conditions. Should the contest duration be altered, every attempt will be made to notify the contestants in a timely and uniform manner. Submissions for judging from the teams are called runs. Submissions will be handled using the Programming Contest Management System DOM Judge. Each run will be judged by the judges as either accepted or rejected, and the team will be notified of the results. A rejected run will be reported as one of the following. Compilation error means that the program failed to compile. This includes compile time limit exceeded and compile memory limit exceeded errors. Next is runtime error, which means that the program terminates improperly during runtime. This includes memory limit exceeded and stack limit exceeded errors. Next is time limit exceeded, which means that the program runtime exceeds the time limit for the problem. Next, wrong answer means that the output is not correct according to the problem checker or grader. And it also includes presentation errors, which means that there are minimal errors in formatting, such as extra spaces.
So the teams can also submit clarification results to the judges using the clarification system made available as part of the contest system. If the clarification is deemed valid, the judges will send clarification reports to the team who submitted the request. However, the judges may also opt to send the report to all the participating teams if deemed necessary. So don't worry about it.
All right, now on scoring. Teams are ranked according to the following criteria. So they're ranked according to the most problems solved. Teams who solve the same number of problems are ranked according to the least penalty, which will be discussed shortly. Teams who solve the same number of problems and have the same penalty are ranked according to the least time of the first accepted run.
To understand that a bit more, we can move on to the penalties. So the penalty is defined as the sum of the time consumed for each problem solved. The time consumed for a solved problem is the time elapsed from the beginning of the contest to the submission of the accepted run, with an additional 20 minutes for every rejected run for that problem. And this is excluding compilation errors. There's no time consumed for a problem that is not solved. So if you didn't touch the problem, don't worry about it. You'll be fine.
All right, so on grounds for disqualification. First is undermining the legitimacy of the contest. Teams may be disqualified if the organizing committee reasonably believes that they have attempted to undermine the legitimacy of the competition by engaging in activities including but not limited to providing false information about themselves during registration or concerning eligibility, breaching or refusing to comply with the rules, sharing or using from others, whether intentionally or unintentionally, any information about a task, including its content or solution, before the end of a round, and displaying behavior considered to be disruptive, unethical, or unsportsmanlike.
Prolonged unmonitored time may also be a grounds for disqualification. So an individual may be disqualified if they're out of view of their camera or take their restroom break for more than the allotted time. Disqualification can also occur if an individual is disconnected from the call for more than the time indicated in the proctoring rules.
All right. Pretty exciting. We all know the rules. So at this point in time, everyone may now leave this session and transfer to the Zoom calls prepared by each team's proctor.
Yes, hope you guys got all the rules and regulations. So make sure to ask your questions if you're not 100% sure. And yes, you can move on to your respective Zoom rooms. And we hope to see you guys later. So thank you and good luck.
Luck on your practice round. Let's go.
Good luck,
YLH.
everyone.
Luck, everyone.
It feels like the moment when, you know, then you finish like the news segment of the show and they're like zooming out and the